Okay, grade 10. So we're going to do the unit conversions here, and you'll notice that there's three types that we got to cover. And the first one you guys have been dealing with for, well, I'm going to say since grade 7 or so, with the metric conversions, and that's kind of the way our quote-unquote Canadian world works, and most of the world works other than the U.S., and a couple other oddball spots. And because the U.S. is our number one trade partner, we still have to learn about imperial conversions. And I'll just dumb it down here for a second. Say metric is what we hear lots about, like centimeters, liters, grams, things like that. Whereas imperial is when we start talking about feet, inches, pounds, quarts, cups, things like that. So there's a little bit of difference. I like to think of the imperial as the old system, and the metric is the new system. And then, of course, we're going to have to figure out how to convert in between the two systems themselves, but that'll come later. So I hope you've got the conversion sheet from the classroom, because we're going to use that as kind of our map to all this. Now, again, this is sort of like the surface area and volume. I know you can go to your phone and you can just type this in and all that. That's great, but you still have to have the idea of how to do it. And it's more, I like to think of it as more for chemistry. I like to, especially when we get into imperial conversions, I treat it, and I actually use the stoichiometry method for balancing equations and stuff like that. So you'll see as we get into it. But again, I'm not blind to the fact that we'll probably never have to do this manually ever again, but we should have the mental math capabilities to think about what's actually occurring, especially as if we're pre-calc or applied students going into this. So I'm going to start with the first example, but I'll talk about the metric scale first, and you'll recognize this. So here's our kilo, the K for kilo, H for hecto, DA is deca, which we very rarely see unless we think of a decathlon, right? And that's a 10 event, right? Think of decimals and your base 10, your 10 units, right? Your base units, of course, those are length. You got meters, you got your grams, you've got your liters, and I kind of put their what they're denoted with, the little m, the little g, the big L, all that stuff. There's other ones, and I put one of them down, like bytes, like kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes. You guys know that. Even some people will say seconds can fall in there. But we have to remember that base unit counts as a part of the scale. And then we got deci, centi, like centimeter, and then milli. So there's our milli right there. The little m represents milli, so like millimeters, milligrams, those kinds of things. And of course, we can go further. If we went to another unit, we could have, I'll even throw it on there, we got micro. That's the letter mu, like kind of a sad sounding cat would say mu, right? That's how you'd say it. And on the other end, of course, we got kilo would be, there's mega, like megabytes, and then you got your gigabytes beyond that, and terabytes, right? Every 1,000 we get bigger and bigger that way. So the scale doesn't just end with these basic ones, but that's kind of where I'm going to keep it for you guys. So let's get to the first example, and I'll show you how this scale works and why the metric system is so simple. Okay, so we've got 27 kilometers. So I'm going to use green, and I'm going to use the scale to show you this one here, and then on every other one I'll just quickly write it out. So 27 kilometers, I look and I see the decimals there. So I'm going to rewrite this as kind of like 27.0, so you can see where the decimal is on a whole number. And it's kilometers. So I put my pencil on the K for kilometers. Now I know this sounds simple, and you probably already are skipping by this, but I got to get all the way over to centi. I don't care that it's meters. I'm looking at the prefix here, kilo and centi. Okay? The base unit, meters, we know that that's there. But to get from kilo all the way over to centi, I got to think, how many times am I going to move the decimal and what direction? So I start at kilo and I move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times to get the decimal to centimeters. So when I have my 27.0, I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And in there, all those open spaces, I just fill those up with zeros. So my answer will be 2, 7, and then I see 5 zeros. And my decimal will be at the end of that, centimeters. So we've got 2.7 million centimeters in 27 kilometers. Now you can imagine that. To drive 27 kilometers and then go and convert that into centimeters. Well, centimeter is about as wide as your pinky fingernail. Lay out 2.7 million pinky fingernails and you'll have 27 kilometers. Okay, so that's just a gross emphasis way to think about it. So I'm going to move to two more examples of this, and then I'll end this video. The next video I'll do will be imperial conversions, and then I'll do a third video doing the third type of unit conversion. So here we go, milligrams to kilograms. So now again, real quick, here's the scale, kh, dA. I'll just write base unit, d, c, and m. So this time I'm trying to get from milligrams all the way back to kilograms. So again, I'm going to move my decimal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times to the left. So on my number here, I can see my decimals right there. I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times to the left. Where I've got those open spaces, I'm going to put zeros. So my answer, I'll do my answer in light blue here, should be decimal, and you could put a zero in front of the decimal, but I'm not going to here. Decimal 0.04273. Now, big mistake is people put the decimal still here, but the decimal's been moved, so I just put the 0.5 there. So there is how many kilograms are in 4,000 milligrams. So it's actually pretty small, right? Let's go, and in grade 9 you would have done scientific notation, I guess, with some of this stuff, because, I mean, we would never really convert that many milligrams into kilograms anyways. Okay, let's do the liters. Okay, so I'm going to use the same scale because I've got it up here. We know that liters is a base unit, so that's where I'm starting. And I got to get over to milliliters over here. So I quickly look and I go 1, 2, 3 units to the right. So now I take my 53 and it's decimal 0, right? And I move it 3 units, 1, 2, 3 units to the right. Fill in those other circles, and now my answer should be 53,000. And you could put the decimal on the end if you want. It doesn't really matter because it's a whole number. And there's your answer. So that's metric conversion at its hardest. It's just using that scale, starting at whatever your prefix is or whatever your base unit, like in the liters situation, and moving to what the question wants you to move to. Okay? So that'll be like the first simple assignment, getting those done. And you're going to use this in science class a lot, generally.